Hey, Detroit, it's your girl Tina with Spectacle Society, and I am popping in today to interview urban neighborhood initiatives. And I am so excited to invite Brooke, Christine, and Philip here to talk a little bit about UNI, tell you guys about it, and so you can learn about the amazing work that they do for Detroit. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We are really
Yeah.
grateful that we were selected. So thank you.
Oh, well, I will say, I was just saying a little before, multiple people spoke up and said, hey, you have to pay attention to urban neighborhood initiatives. So I was really pleased to see that. So tell me a little bit about UNI. Let's go into a little bit about the organization.
Sure. I'm Christine and I'm the executive director. I've been honored to serve in that role for the last 5 years, but I've been with the organization for 15, which seems like a lot. But the organization has been in the community for going on 24 years in November. And we have been in the same neighborhood, so the Springwells neighborhood of Southwest Detroit for 24 years. And all of the work that we do, all of the park development that we've done, the little commercial development that we've done around a neighborhood center and soon to open Los HQ, which is another youth center, and all of our youth programs, all of that work is done within 1.4 square miles of Southwest Detroit. Yeah. And so really the foundation of the organization has been around how do we look at the neighborhood and ensure that the people in the neighborhood have the opportunities to thrive? How are we a part of that, right? Like how are we a part of that? And then how do we make sure that our built environment is, so the parks and housing and commercial properties, how are those places and spaces beautiful? Because we believe that all people deserve to live in a beautiful, healthy neighborhood. And so that's been our work for the last 24 years. And I personally feel just very grateful that we are in a neighborhood that is full of amazing neighbors. And there's every neighborhood in Detroit is amazing. I'm just biased. And I'm really grateful that we've been able to partner with residents to really hear what it is that they want and need and the things that are important to them, and that we've been able to be a part of helping to build those things. And so that's the work of the organization in a nutshell. And we do lots of different things, but by and large, our work is around education, youth development, and land use and economic development.
I love that. And I really love the involving the community in it, because if it's for us, it should be with us, right? Like that is absolutely a fantastic way to look at, community organizing and things that we can do, because not everybody wants the same thing, right? So listening to the voice of the community, that's incredibly important. So I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit. I know you guys do multiple things for the community, but I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about some of the programs. So can we start talking a little bit about the Southwest Urban Arts Mural Project?
I'm going to let Phil take that.
Sure. Thanks, Christine. So the SWAMP program, or Southwest Urban Arts Mural Project, is a program that was started originally as a way to kind of combat graffiti on residents' garages. There was just kind of a time period where people would have to keep investing in paint and going over these things to clean up the garages. And the need was there, and so to what Christine was saying about like working with residents and listening to what the demands are and what things people need, the listening campaign there was like finding out that that was a problem, and then the answer, the solution that was come to by the community and UNI was to have young people from the neighborhood paint murals and kind of beautify and bring art to those spaces, and then the residents weren't buying all this paint. And then you also had art in place of, the tagging that was happening. So it was like a really cool win-win scenario. And then that kind of just snowballed into this bigger thing where the mural program went from exclusively working in alleys and doing garages to doing fences and other bigger projects. Getting to the point where like businesses were reaching out to us and doing commissions and things like that. And so, you fast forward to today, and the mural project has evolved a lot. As I just stated, we do commissions for businesses. We still obviously keep our foot in like the community and like make sure that we're doing those free ones for residents, and doing those ones that are like more about beautifying space. But Swamp has just grown so much, and now we have like our art and design workshops where we teach young people basic art and design skills that they can use in the program to paint the murals. So it's been like an amazing journey as a program, and then also just as a resource that young people have in the neighborhood now is that they have an art program that they can go to, they can learn, they can get in those skills, and also network and meet other young artists, and then also create murals and public works of art that they can be proud of, and they can drive down the street and be like to their friends, like I painted that, and so it's a really cool, magical thing that beautifies the neighborhood.
I love that. I love that we get an opportunity through this program to expose, local youth to how art functions out in the world, right? How, it becomes part of our community, and the pride that they must feel, like you said, kind of pointing to your friends and being like, I did that. Like, look at that over there. That's amazing. And I was part of it. Like, that's pretty incredible. And on top of that, the community is just getting more and more beautiful the more art that goes up, right? And all of us appreciate that. So that's incredible. I'm really excited to hear about that. So let's talk a little bit about the green team then.
So the green team was, we had redeveloped four parks. We own two, and there are we redeveloped two for the city, and then we redeveloped one in the green space that was attached to a former school, Phoenix Multicultural Academy, and then we had some vacant lots, and we started to think through like how do we make sure that we maintain them, because parks are wonderful spaces, but they also can become really scary spaces if they are not cared for well. And so it was really important to us that we make sure that as we had these vacant lots, and the parks, that we were able to care for them. And so we talked with young people, and they were interested in learning skills around horticulture, and some kids just like really loved working with their hands. And this is like a great program to work with your hands and be outside, and so we have young people that care for all of these vacant spaces, beautify them. We just recently, our Southwest Food Cultivators program just took over one of the lots, planted trees put in community gardens, put in a compost bin. So they've transformed this lot. And then they've also just helped to maintain keeping lots green. There's a lot where the residents really, they couldn't see around the corner, and there were lots of accidents that were happening, and so we've, in partnership with the residents on that street and young people that live here, we have just maintained that as a really beautiful green space that now people can see what they want to be able to see. So that's how the green team came to be, and they work really closely with our land stewardship program. So in partnership with residents that steward lots, and we help them to bring in the resources to clean them, maintain them, beautify them, sometimes activate them. It just really depends. And a new piece of that actually is transferring ownership back to residents. So Phil actually is involved in a pilot right now where we're helping to go through that process, and ultimately the owner of that land will be the resident. So yeah, but young people have helped with that. And so it's a really great program, and they get paid. So it's also a way for them to earn money. Similarly to the Southwest Urban Arts Mural Project, is they get paid for their time. So it's also a youth employment opportunity.
I love that. I mean, that is fantastic, and ways that they can feel good about earning an income, ways that they can feel good about contributing to their community, right? And I love that the spaces are going back to the owners too. Like, that's amazing. And I really appreciate, we're in the middle of a city, and there are lots of different spaces throughout Detroit, but keeping green, beautiful spaces in a city, it's such a beautiful thing when you get to like walk by or drive by one, right? Like, and you get that feeling of like, wow, this is like this little beautiful green oasis in the middle of a city, right? And so it's incredible that kids get to be involved in that, and be involved in the planning and the maintaining and the making sure that those spaces are accessible and usable for people. I just love this. And then one last program I want to mention, because it was just so exciting to hear about, was the Leaders in Training program.
So that is a year-round youth program where young people get to be a part of workshops that are really focused around workforce development. So getting ready to go into employment. And they have the support of our coaches that help them work through their strategy around education. So for some young people, that's about going on to to college. Some young people, that's about going into training, into some sort of training that will help them to get like a coding job, or or an apprenticeship, things like that. And then they also get to have a hands-on work experience. And so that is, we have partners across the neighborhood that will work with us and our young people. So young people are actually placed in their business. So and then they get to get some experience, some hands-on experience. They also are put into our internal organization's pathways. So Southwest Urban Arts Mural Project, we own, we're the sole members. That's like very, but our social enterprise is Southwest Rides, Bikes and Boards. And so they can be placed there. They can also be placed in the Southwest Food Cultivators or the Green Team. And so there's this opportunity for hands-on work experience. They do receive, again, this is another youth workforce development. And so they receive a payment, and they earn a wage, which is really amazing. They also learn how to save in this program. So we have this amazing partnership with America Saves, where young people are actually not just learning how to budget, but actually how you become more financially secure, whatever that means for you. So it's a really amazing opportunity for young people, and it's I think so many of our young people in the neighborhood, they want jobs, and I think it's to get the things that they want, like what everybody wants, clothes, whatever. But also we have so many young people that are helping their families pay rent, pay utilities. We have young people that are helping to pay for their siblings, school supplies, and they are real contributors to their families in terms of helping their family thrive. And so I am really honored that we are able to be a part of the economy in that way, actually. So.
Absolutely. As someone who did that growing up, I mean, I was definitely one of the contributors to my family's income, and it's a responsibility and it's a lot, and giving kids that opportunity. There aren't a lot of opportunities out there that pay well for kids. And so it's really nice to be able to give them the opportunities to learn these skills. Also to learn the saving and the finance. I mean, lots of people don't get that until they're forced to, right? Until they quote unquote become adults, right? Like they don't get that idea until later on in life. So really fostering that at a young age is so, so wonderful. So you guys have already touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about how urban neighborhood initiatives impacts Detroiters.
I will let Brooke take that one. Go ahead, Brooke.
Hi, yes, my name's Brooke. I've been a part of UNI on and off for maybe about the last 8 years. I grew up with UNI. I was part of their apprenticeship program, summer at the center, and then at Harms Elementary, they offered an after-school homework help program, which I was able to volunteer. I started out as a volunteer, and then I slowly worked my way up to being paid. So I did that for quite a few years, and then I got older. I grew up. I went to college, and so UNI was there to support me with the whole application process. Filling out applications, scholarships. I could always count on Christine, Alicia, Edgar, a couple of others to help me with like the whole scholarship letters. And I was thankful to say I'm a first generation college graduate. I am the first in my family to go to school to obtain my degree. I just graduated earlier in December of this year with a degree in communications and a minor in human resources from the University of Michigan Dearborn. All debt free, thankfully I was covered by, that's my son. And so I think, I really think that thanks to programs or thanks to like this organization, I am able to be where I am today. It wasn't easy, so I was thankful to have that support behind me, especially because, like as I mentioned, my parents did not have the opportunity to go off to school. They weren't able to help me with FAFSA, or they didn't know anything about like scholarships. So UNI really helped me in that way. As for the other programs, as we mentioned, I live in the community. Sorry, give me 1 second. And so, like I said, so I live in the community. I grew up here, and now that I've been able to form my own family, I have my son, my husband. We live in the community, so it's really something that I pride myself in being a part of. Seeing all these green spaces happening. Sorry. And so being able to be a part of it, being able to say, yeah, my job, my organization's contributing to the well-being of our neighborhood, and essentially ensuring a better community for my son and for the future generations to come after us. So that is something I really love about UNI. As Christine said, I might be a little biased, but I think we're pretty great.
It's amazing. Wonderful. Well, and it does sound like, we're impacting the community on multiple levels, right? From youth all the way through adulthood. We're impacting it with green spaces, or impacting it with beautiful art. I mean, there's just a million ways that you guys are just contributing, and that's incredible. And it sounds like you got a lot of confidence and support from the whole group at UNI as you were moving forward in your life.
Definitely, yeah. Like I said, thanks to them, I feel like I am where I am today. Without them, I probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, wonderful. Great. Well, I am curious. I was wondering, did anybody else have anything they wanted to say about the impact on the community? And perfect. So I wanted to ask how you guys were affected by the pandemic. It's been a crazy year for everybody, year and a half at this point, right? So how was UNI affected by the pandemic, and what sort of roles did you guys take in dealing with that for the community?
So I want Brooke to talk very directly about what it is that we've been doing, but I think as an organization, we didn't close. And I think from my perspective, I felt like if we don't show up now, when do we show up? And so, but we were all going through a pandemic. And so we've been very flexible as an organization with our staff, because so many of our staff actually live in the community, and our community experienced and still is experiencing a lot of sickness, death. Like it has been very difficult. And so I think being really supportive of our staff while also saying, how do we show up every day? So we didn't do less, we did more. And I want to brag a little bit, is I looked at the timeline of when we shut down, like when everybody had to go into the stay home, stay safe order. That day, 24 hours later, our staff had turned around and made every single program virtual. And so we didn't, and I think some of that is we have some, we have a really young staff too. So like, I feel like they just like knew what to do, like how to do that. Right. But also it was like this dedication of, we're gonna be here and we're gonna show up, and we're gonna show up with consistency, continuing to offer programs. Brag a little bit on Phil. Phil put together all these art kits, and he just kept going with programming. We did porch drop-offs, and he would do his program virtually, but he made sure that everybody had the supplies that they needed at home. We partnered with some amazing organizations, one that's also a finalist, so like DHDC and others in Southwest. We came together and said, how do we support our residents with cleaning supplies and food? And so it was a moment where our partnerships that we had before the pandemic really benefited us, and I think our neighborhood, and they deepened. And then I think we just, we took on a lot. So I'll let Brooke talk about what we've been doing, because we've also started doing a number of new things. So, and Brooke has been leading a lot of that work.
So yes, we're almost 2 years into this pandemic, and it still seems like it was just yesterday, right? As Christine said, we really scrambled when it came to like figuring out how to be there for the community. And it took us a very different routes. When COVID first hit, we were all told we'd only have to be at home for 2 weeks, right? Remember? And it's like, no, never mind. You're probably going to stay home for 1 month. And then 1 month became 2, and then it became 3. And so that really frightened me, frightened our staff, and it frightened our community, right? We live in a community that's predominantly Hispanic or Latino, which means we have a large population of people who are undocumented. This means they did not qualify for the same assistance that U.S. citizens qualified for. So that was like unemployment and just other general assistance that was being offered. So we were afraid that how are our families going to keep food on the table? How are they going to keep a roof over their heads? And most importantly, how are they going to keep themselves safe and healthy and out of danger? So one of the first things that you and I did was that we were able to provide families with cleaning supplies, disinfectants, masks. We worked very hard to provide those because remember at one point everything was scarce. You couldn't find toilet paper, you couldn't find disinfectant, you couldn't find Lysol, you couldn't find bleach. And then keep in mind, so when we were in that initial shutdown, it was around March. And so a lot of our families were just getting ready to go back out into the work field because a lot of our residents, they work outside. They're construction workers, they're landscapers, they're just outside. So then all of a sudden you're like, nope, you can't work. Everyone's scrambling. How are we going to keep our families fed? So we were able to help out with that. And then we were also able to secure cash assistance for some families who were being, who needed assistance with food, or they were also being threatened with eviction because they couldn't pay their rent. So those were very scary times. Aside from that, we've also secured, we're about, like I said, like about a 2-year partnership with Gleaners Community Food Bank, where UNI provides bi-weekly food distributions where we give residents about 20 to 30 pounds of food. And we're proud to say that at these distribution events, we are able to serve over 300 families. If you do the math, I'm not a math expert, but that's over in the last 2 years, or about 2 years, we've given over 400,000 pounds of food just in our community alone.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and so, every time we go on to the community, I've been a part of these food distribution events, and people are always thanking us, they're like, I wouldn't be able to feed my family if it wasn't for this, right? People really relied on this extra assistance. So, thank you to Gleaners for partnering with us. This was a very important need that needed to be filled in our community. Aside from that, we've also, like I said, we've been pretty busy over here. We've also been able to partner with other health organizations in the city of Detroit to provide free COVID-19 testings and vaccines. As you know, when the vaccine efforts first began, it was primarily downtown at the TCF Center. There was all these requirements that needed to be met, but even then, I personally myself, went and I had an experience where I could definitely see why people were hesitant, or at least my community was hesitant to go down there, right? At the TCF Center, there was no translators. None of the material was being translated. And then, people in downtown, even I'm a US citizen. I was born here, I speak the language, but even myself, I still get uneasy going downtown because there's a large police presence. There's a large Border Patrol presence. And like I mentioned, a lot of our residents are undocumented. And so I could understand their fear of going downtown. They wanted to get vaccinated. There's no doubt about it, but they were afraid of what could happen if they went down there. And I unfortunately had a bad experience down there. And so from that experience, I made it my own goal, I took it upon myself to no, I don't want anyone else to have the same experience that I did. I am going to work to bring vaccines to my community for I say my gente, my people. They deserve it, right? I'm not going to put anyone else through that experience. And so that's exactly what I did. I harassed everyone until I was able to get vaccines into my community. And I'm proud to say at our very first vaccine event, we were able to vaccinate over 150 people. So that was a very large a large number of people. And, with the vaccines, it was a second dose. People are all, or at least health officials are always like, no, they'll get their first vaccine, but it's really important for them to get their second vaccine. And so they were seeing a trend that, so let's say out of those 150 people who were vaccinated the first time, only a small percentage of people would come back for their second dose. And I was like, nope, not on my watch. I called everyone, specifically, I worked endlessly, days and nights calling people. I'm like, you have your second dose due pretty soon. And I did. I would manage to I rounded everyone back up for their second dose.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And then aside from that, we have been translating material. We've helped people schedule their appointments. And then also at UNI, we offer bi-weekly mobile health events where people can come get tested. They can come get vaccinated. No ID, insurance, or appointment is necessary. And it's super easy for people. And the better part is that we have translators there. So I'm there personally on the ground, helping people, answering their questions. So something I saw a lot was a lot of hesitancy, right? I did not care. I would sit down with someone for 45 minutes having a conversation, just answering all of their questions, any of their concerns. And, if I was lucky at the end of it, they would go ahead and get vaccinated. I never once pressured anyone into getting it, but I just made sure, I made them felt like they were being listened to, right? That they could count on someone who looked like them, talked like them. So to me, that was very, very important.
I love that. And I love that thoughtfulness and consideration for our entire community, right? And really thinking like how are we going to make everybody feel comfortable? Because the pandemic was it's been a scary time without a doubt, right? And all of the news reports and all the literature was all fear-based. And so, you know, adding that to someone who doesn't speak the language fluently, right? That's really frightening. So being able to translate the material and have their questions answered, that had to provide a tremendous amount of comfort, you know?
And on several occasions, we had people coming who would come to you and I to get their vaccine. They're like, the only reason I'm getting vaccinated is because I see you guys are behind it. I trust you guys. So that trust between our residents and us is something that's very important, you know, very reassuring, right? Our residents look to us for either guidance or comfort. So that's something very, very nice to know.
I love that. I love to hear what you guys have been doing. And if we can take a second with Philip, I just wanted to talk about the way that you reached out to the kids and provided virtual art stuff. That sounds incredible. I just want to hear a little bit more about that.
For sure. Switching over to virtual with the young people was definitely like a process, but I think to Christine's point earlier, like we have such a young staff, and then on top of that, we're always working with like the young people, so they're already hip to like, you know, kind of how to make it work. And I remember in the beginning we were using Google Meets, and my kids were just like, you know, this platform's kind of like, I don't know, like boring. Like, can we switch over to Discord? And I didn't know what Discord was. I mean, I heard people say it, but I never looked at it or been on the website. And like, it's crazy how many tools that platform has, like with all the separate chats, and like it was really organized. And it's like I had to teach myself how to use it one night and like go through all like the bells and whistles. But once I figured it out, you know, like I was able to bring that back to the young people, and so it's really cool because I like to tell people that they actually came up with a lot of how we shifted to virtual, and that's kind of a part of that, you know, not just youth leadership, but then also like youth ownership, where it's like from the ground up, they have a lot of say in everything, so they were able to like guide us in the technology realm to what platform we were going to be meeting on, and then from there, it was pretty smooth because like Christine said, we were distributing art kits, so we were giving them sketchbooks, color pencils, and pastels and watercolors. Just you know, all the stuff that we would use in our workshops, just to make sure that they had them. And we adjusted slightly what we do for our workshops um, instead of coming from like a specifically teaching perspective, where I'm like, which is something we don't do in general. We like to call ourselves like facilitating a process more than we're teaching. And so like we don't really teach to begin with, but with the virtual setting, it was even less so. And so what it turned into was like setting goals together and coming up with you know, and like art specific goals and projects that we wanted to do. And so every week when we would meet up, we would be sharing our projects and like the progress we made, and we would be asking each other for like tips and advice, and it was just like a really cool like community that we built for ourselves virtually. And so we were still learning, but also doing it in a way that was very organic and community centered.
I love that. And you know, one of the things that kids faced during the pandemic was this, you know, lack of after school programs, this lack of workshops, like, you know, times where they get to express themselves and do things. Right now we're all under the same roof doing classes, you know, virtually in the same home as their parents, right? And the whole stuff. So having that break, that time where they can really get the chance to engage with each other and you know, have that space for expression is really important, that it wasn't lost during that. So that's really incredible that you guys were able to provide that. So you guys know that you are one of the 3 organizations that we've selected, and our community investment fund, which is 5% of our annual sales, gets put aside. And the community, all of Detroit, is going to be able to vote in October. And if you guys are selected, how is that donation money going to be utilized?
So we do a lot, if you know, and so I think how we'll use that money to continue to further our mission and to support programs like LIT, like Swamp, that, you know, we have amazing funding partners, but it doesn't cover everything. Right now we're I'm laughing because you build a park and then you're like, oh yeah, you got to take care of it. And so we're replacing there's this bouncy material underneath our playscape so that kids, when they inevitably fall, that they don't get really hurt. So we have to replace that whole fall zone this year. And so there's a tire swing that is beloved. And like, if you ever get a chance to swing by, the hole that's in that fall zone is, I mean, it's pretty amazing actually how many kids have spent their days spinning around on that tire swing. And so things like that where we don't necessarily have we don't necessarily have funding partners. So I think we'll use it for our mission. We'll use it for the programs that you've heard about today. And we're just really even grateful to be considered, and so grateful that Spectacle Society thinks about even setting aside some of your profits to be able to support community organizations like ours. It is we're very lucky when we get funds that we can say we can do this with. That's actually how we did everything that Brooke just described, was we were able to say the community needs this, and we have some so funders did that, right? They were like, use the money how you see fit. And it allowed us to do all of that and what we were doing. It allowed Phil to be able to put art kits together. So that's what funding from Spectacle Society will do. It will allow us to do the things that we really need to do and want to do to move our mission forward, but might not be currently funded through a grant. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And, there are things that people don't think about, right? When you get grants and funds, like they go to very specific purposes, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't utilize them for anything else. And the way that you guys adapted through the pandemic is a prime example of, like, when you don't specify where it goes, it can go to really fantastic things that are happening,
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Well, I have been like floored by how much you guys do and how much you've done through the pandemic. Like, that's amazing. So I would love for you guys to tell Detroiters how, and people outside of Detroit who are watching, how can they get involved? How can they help you guys? How can they do this individually? What are ways that they can reach out and help you?
So you can call Brooke. So Brooke is our communications and volunteer coordinator. And
I think she froze, but as Christine was saying, you can call me, you can email me, and you don't necessarily have to donate money to us. That'd be great, but you can also you can also help us in various other ways. You can volunteer at our center, you can help us, you can donate materials to us. So like, we will take donations, like if you have supplies, or for example, so I know I talked a little bit on how we helped families during COVID, but we also help our residents, especially in their times of need. So we've had a couple instances where families, lost their homes to fires, or, something of that sort happened to them and they lost everything. So we were able to like help them with like food and clothing, books, toys for their children. So like, at this point, we will take anything. We can always find a good family or good people for your things to go to. You can email us. You can go to our, you can email me. You can find my contact information at our website, UNIDetroit.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on Twitter. We're pretty active on our social medias. And I'm proud to say, if you message us, you're going to be talking to me. So you can email us, Facebook us, Instagram us, volunteer your time. We can always find something for you to do at UNI, whether it be helping out with our lots or helping. We also have volunteer opportunities for like our after school programming or just all of our other programming, we can find something for you. You can never go wrong with you and I.
Oh, I love that. See, so Detroit, there's lots of ways you guys can get involved. UNI is there and can find some use for you if you have the time and the energy and the funds that you want to donate. There are lots of ways that you can help out. So guys, I really want to say thank you. Thank you, Brooke, Philip, Christine. It was really lovely talking to all of you. I really appreciate you guys giving us some more information about urban neighborhood initiatives.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then Detroit, definitely pay attention. Keep your eye on our profile. You'll see little tips about UNI coming up through the month. So pay attention. Definitely share this interview with your friends so lots of people can learn about the incredible things that are happening over in urban neighborhood initiatives. All right, guys, till next time. Have a great day.
Bye. Adios.
Adios.